Hi Guy! Today I want to go and have a look at recent events that's been kicking off with the whole Zelda and the negativity really about, well, some of the what could be called niggles or poorer points with it. And I just want to say before I jump in this, I love this game to bits. I'm absolutely obsessed with it. But it's probably going to be my game of the year. But it is not perfect. It does have its problems. It has a fair few issues dotted without. Compared to other games, they're not game breaking, but I can certainly understand why a lot of people have complaints about it. And the reason I'm doing this video is I've been seeing quite a lot of this whole thing against a chap called Jim Sterling. I used to be a Patreon supporter to him. No, I've not dropped off because of this. I switch between Patreon supporters because I don't have enough money to throw at them, other people, but I do it where I can. And I did for Jim for a fair bit last year because I quite enjoyed some of the stuff he was coming out with. But in the last week or so, he basically posted a review online. If you've not seen this for Raw, and I'm sure you must have done if you're watching this video, but he basically he did a very good detailed review and went into his points and why he disliked it and thought it had, problems and such. And he has had problems with Nintendo on the whole before. And he basically gave it 7 out of 10. Now, I will say straight away, I don't agree with the final score. I did agree with the points he was making throughout. He did have he basically went through like it was a good review in general, and he pointed out the issues. But, one thing that came about off the back of this is website within like hours of that going up was because it reduced the total score on Metacritic from 98 to 97. And the next thing you know, his website is being attacked and he's being absolutely caned. And it was down for about 15, 16 hours of is it DDoS attack it's called. Constantly people hitting it with crazy amounts of traffic, not just to complain, just to take the site offline. And it was insane just to think that somebody would do such a thing over a single title. Now, apparently this also happened to him, but not to that degree last year with No Man's Sky. But I have to agree with him, No Man's Sky was pretty poor. But going back to Zelda, it's absolutely crazy to think that somebody would be attacked for that sort of a thing. Now, I've been playing it a lot of this game. It's filling me time constantly. Now, one of the biggest issues I've had with it, and especially for the first 15 to 20 hours. Now, keep in mind, 15 to 20 hours, that's the size of a lot of full-time AAA games, a full story from start to finish. And I've not even done there's a starting area, there's a bit of exploration, and then you go off to do it's 4 dungeon equivalents throughout the world. More like Shadow of the Colossus, really, the way it's set out. But when you've done it, I've literally just done the first one a couple of days ago, and I've not got any further than that because I'm enjoying exploring the world. But for that first 20 hours, one of the biggest issues that keeps coming up, and I understand it completely from a gameplay point of view, is the weapons and the shields just break. And that's not just like it's your swords, but it's your bows. You're completely restricted by it, and if you go up against an enemy, you'll probably get enough to kill them with, and maybe one hit more on the next enemy. It shatters. You then have to switch to a different weapon. Now, the thing is, the controls are a bit clunky. A lot of people, I'm moaning about the fact they have to go into the menu and switch weapons. You can actually do it, I think, on the key presses, but again, it's not perfect. It's not like you can just tap a button and flick to the next weapon. You've got to actually go into a sub menu and flick off that way. So it's very, very, it's not great, but it's designed in the first area especially that you're supposed to find different ways to defeat the enemies. They don't want you to depend on a sword, and it is good in the sense that it makes you explore the environment more. You'll use weapons you'll snipe from trees, or you'll blow up barrels, or you'll go in stealth mode and stuff. One thing I've seen is cutting down trees, pushing rocks over hills, setting barrels on fire from a distance, using other stuff in interesting ways to do it. But as the game gets further and further and further on, the weapons start to last longer and longer. The enemies do tend to get a lot stronger, but you can have probably a couple, 2, 3, maybe even 4 fights as you get further into the game. where the weapons don't seem as bad, but I can understand that first 20 hours, they're a real pain to, until you get used to that system and it builds in. Now, the other problem I find is I like having a favourite weapon in a game. I like being, dedicating my time to it, and it's right quite sad. I usually name a weapon. that's a little bugbear of mine, which I like to do on big RPGs, because it's with you all the time. But there's none of that in Zelda. You're completely dependent on the stuff you pick up around you. And yes, it's great to some degree that you have to keep changing weapons and using different types and stuff. But there are times that I'd like to, at the very least, to be able to repair something, get a bit more life out of it. It's like I'll pick up it might be a broadsword or a short sword, something like that, and I'll really like that weapon. And once it's damaged, I might not see another one of it for hours until I fight an enemy that's got something similar, or find a chest with one in. And it's very frustrating, which is a shame because it's such an amazing game. But I can understand why it's such a back and forth issue, and I don't think they're ever going to fix it. I mean, one of the biggest problems I've had with the game is the way the inventory works. It's very, very clunky, and it feels like it was designed to be used with a touchscreen on a pad, but because they decided through development to drop all that, they've just gone back to sole menus, and everything always feels it's like Witcher 3 was in the early days, but they did actually fix that as time went on within a few weeks of patching. So maybe Nintendo will listen to some of these complaints. Who knows? Anyway, guys, as always, thanks for listening, and please look forward to another video soon.